I'm coming live to you today. It's a Thursday morning in Guam. It's easy for me to go live on a Thursday morning when I do not swim. So usually I'm coming right back from the swimming pool at this hour. And I don't know if you can tell, and I've turned the light on. No, I haven't. Anyway, it's a little bit dark here because we've got some clouds. It looks like it's going to rain. And that's what I'm really wishing for in Australia. It's such a tragedy, huge tragedy, massive fires. Nothing like I have heard before in any region, including, the devastating ones that have happened in the past in Australia and also in California. So if there's anything that you're able to do, any way that you are able to help, I know that is much appreciated by my friends and colleagues in Australia. So anyway, today I'll just tell you about a few things now, and at the end of the live about what's going on for me this new year. One thing I'm going to do is the week of the 27th through the 31st, I'm going to go live every morning, probably around 9 o'clock my time. But I will have to go live a little bit earlier on Tuesday because I have a meeting that morning as well. So I will put all that information out. And in those lives, we'll focus using movement and dance to explore areas that we're wanting to bring more attention to, or energy, or just awareness to in 2020. So I thought that in this exploration, I might add some of the questions I've put in what I've written this morning. I've put down questions that came from my friend Teresa Pittman, who's a La Leche League leader in Canada. And she shared this a little while ago, and it feels so relevant. And I've spent some time reflecting on there's 10 questions about, what was unforgettable for you in 2019, and what did you most enjoy, and, what were the surprises. So if that feels helpful for you, please go ahead and copy and paste from that list, and however you like to reflect. We all reflect in different ways. Sometimes we use movement, sometimes we just write, sometimes we use art. So everybody has their ways. Sometimes we reflect by just taking a long walk outside. So I also put on my page that I'm starting some basic authentic movement online trainings, which have been the class that my colleague and I developed over the last 3 years. So if you're interested in that, you can send me a personal message. I can email you the information, or you can just, check on my page. So without further ado, I'm going to scoot back, and of course Gandalf is with me this morning. But as you start to warm up the body, I'm just going to warm up from the floor, since I see that I'm more visible in the screen, and I'll speak up enough so that you hear my voice. I know some people have said sometimes that perhaps my voice doesn't come through. I mean, when I re-listen, it does. And I know I have one of those loud voices that can project. So I will use that projection as we go live. And for whatever reason, my arms seem to want to move and define the space around me. Maybe you have a different way. And now, of course, since I'm using my arms, I also want to include my legs. So whatever way you like to sort of open the body, stretch it out. For some of you, it's going to be later in the day. It's 8 o'clock in Guam, so it's 11 in New Zealand. It's 9 in some parts of Australia. It's late afternoon in the US. And anyway, as you start warming up the body, and if you've seen those questions in the post and maybe you haven't seen them, maybe you move into a little bit about what really surprised you about 2019. Is there anything in your body that emerges if I ask that question? What surprised you the most in 2019? And you can just let that question move through your body. I'm obviously finding different angles. So maybe there was something about seeing things for me from in different ways, really taking in other people's perspectives that may not be my own. So maybe that was for me a surprise of 2019. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there as I move. Another question you can take from those 10 is, what was my biggest win in 2019? And for me, I know as I'm moving this, I'm remembering that I took some risks and then I just had to trust that it would work out. Now, it might not have worked out completely 100% beautifully, but somehow there was these risks I took, really paid off. I think there's a question about what was your biggest win in 2019. So you can feel free to play with these questions on your own and see what comes up. Some of the things that I recommend is like, you just say the question. So I'm going to keep saying the one about what was my biggest win in 2019. So you can play with what was my biggest win in 2019 and just see what kinds of, movement really begins to emerge. And maybe if there's sort of a phrase, something that kind of repeats itself. Now, you may not have words that come to you, but maybe this particular phrase. So I'm coming up with one. And maybe it's just something that you try to remember in your body, and maybe more comes from this. So often in my authentic movement practice, I like to do movement and then do a little quick piece of drawing. And then I tend to write poetry afterwards. And that's when surprises and insights come to me. So, you may have a different way you like to do that. Sometimes writing with just having with your opposite hand, your non-dominant hand, or just writing continuously, which I learned from a mentor, Tina Stromstead, years and years ago. You can just do that, and that might give you some information. So anyway, so this is a little bit about movement reflection on 2019. And now, as we move into 2020, which is what? This is, for me, it's the 9th, it's the 8th for some of you. So we've had 8 or 9 days. What's really percolating in you right now? And again, you may want to just take these questions with you over this year, or just in the next month. Maybe bring it if you want to come to the lives that I'm doing starting January 27th. You may want to use that as material to explore movement and questions about, your plans for 2020, but also your surprises, or perhaps what you're trying to bring in more. And one of the images that's come from me from reading something about, if we keep pounding the same door and we keep thinking we're supposed to go through this door, um, but we haven't seen all the other doors around us. So for me, I'm open to surprises and having a key to unlock a door that I didn't know was there, or that's a new door or a new pathway. So that's something in my movement